Hello and welcome to the Real Industry Engineers podcast. My name is Nyasha and I'm genuinely excited that you're here. This episode is a pilot episode, so basically a chance for me to introduce myself and the podcast and to share why it exists and talk about what I'm hoping to achieve here. And to be honest, this podcast has been a long time coming, so I'm very excited that I'm finally here. This is also the first time I've done something like this before, so there's going to be a bit of a learning curve. I'll be learning how to host better conversations, how to listen more deeply, how to ask better questions, and how to grow a platform. But honestly, that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited to learn something new. I'm excited to stretch myself. And most of all, I'm excited about the many conversations that I had. Conversations with engineers, technologists, industry leaders, problem solvers who are doing real and meaningful work in industry. So for those of you who don't know me, let me share a little bit about my background. So I studied electronic engineering and I completed my bachelor's in 2016 at the University of Pretoria in South Africa. After working a little bit in South Africa, I then made the move to Australia, where I spent about 7-8 years working in industrial automation. So that's mainly in machine control systems, in manufacturing environments, and some large-scale industrial projects as well. And along the way, I've been quite fortunate to grow both technically and professionally as well. And I'm currently a chartered engineer, registered and practicing here in Australia. I mentioned this, not to brag or to impress, but so that you understand where my perspective is coming from. And to reassure you as well that this podcast is grounded in real world engineering experience. But what really pushed me to start this podcast isn't my industry experience, but is the conversations. Over the years, I've had countless informal chats with other engineers over coffee, on job sites, and during late nights at work. And I kept noticing the same thing. Some of the most valuable career lessons and technical insights never really make it to the classroom or to textbooks or to training manuals. They actually live in stories, in mistakes, in pivots, in moments of doubt, and in the quiet confidence that comes from time spent doing the work. And that's what this podcast is really about. So, Real Industry Engineers is a space for honest conversations about engineering careers, technical challenges, industry trends, and also the human side of the profession. We'll talk about career progression, transitions, leadership and specialization, but we'll also dive into technical topics like automation, cybersecurity, data, AI, and the emerging technologies shaping the future of our industry. So, who's this podcast for? It's really for everyone. It's for the early career engineers trying to find their footing. It's for experienced engineers reflecting on their journey and on what's next. It's for students preparing to step into industry and anyone curious about what engineering really looks like beyond the job title. This podcast is basically what I wish I had when I was starting off as an engineer, and even now, after working for a bit, it's the one thing that I think I'm like, man, I really wish there was a podcast out there that really talks about the real work that's happening in engineering. And this podcast aims to be that. So I'm aiming to release new episodes fortnightly, and you'll be able to watch them on YouTube or listen wherever you get your podcast, really. And if you're an engineer listening to this and thinking, I would love to share my story, well, that door is definitely open. I believe every engineer has a story worth sharing. So please get in touch. I'll leave my details somewhere in the description below. And if you're here simply to learn, reflect, and grow alongside others, then you're definitely in the right place. So this podcast isn't about having all the answers. It's really about asking better questions and learning from each other. Thank you for being here at the very beginning. I'm genuinely excited for what's coming ahead, and I can't wait to bring you the conversations that are coming next. Welcome to Real Industry Engineers.